Hello, hello, everyone. So good to have this webinar and see you guys. I'm going to give us a couple minutes for other people to join. It's not a crisis if you don't get all of this. So if you're joining us a little bit later, or if you need to hop off because you got to take another call or whatever it is, don't worry about it. You will be getting a link to a replay. Okay, so you can catch this later. You can get all the information at your leisure later on, so don't worry about it. And in the follow-up email that has the link to this replay, you'll also have all my contact information. So you can contact me directly. Imagine that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And if you have joined us, you know that we are going to be talking about professional coping skills. This is a crazy time, right? I don't need to tell you that. So I've seen a lot of people who have a lot of questions, not just about how to manage their family, their changing family life, but also a lot of questions about what all of this means for their job, their work, their career. And there's just so much uncertainty. And so I wanted to, and you know what, we're not going to get answers to a lot of this stuff. Maybe, not anytime soon. So the question is, well, what do we do in the meantime? Okay, because we have to live, we have to work, we have to perform in our jobs. The rules are changing, but, for a lot of us, those deadlines don't go away, right? Clients don't go away. You have things that you need to do. There are things that you need to produce. And so how do we manage through that uncertainty? So that is the whole point of this webinar. So if that's what you're looking for, you're in the right place. So there are a lot of people who've joined this webinar that have not joined any of my webinars in the past. So I'm going to take just a couple minutes to tell you who I am and why you should listen to anything I have to say. So for those of you who have participated in these webinars before, you know that we do these pretty regularly. So once to twice a month, maybe 3 to 4 weeks, we have these webinars for those of you who are unfamiliar, and these are always free. So now that you've registered for this one, you will get notifications about future webinars, which is going to be fantastic. You can join any of those that you like. You do have to register for each one individually if you want to get the replay. Okay, so that's very important. You don't automatically get the replays for all of my webinars. You just have to, I don't want to clutter up your inbox. So you tell me what you want to see, and then I'll make sure that you get the replays, okay? So my name is Nicole Coustier. I am the founder of Aurelian Coaching and of the Career Prime suite of services. So I worked in a corporate environment for many, many years. Prior to that, I worked in government and policy. And then I decided to take all the stuff that I loved the most and start my own firm and just do that. So what was the stuff that I loved the most? The stuff that I loved the most was coaching people. So I was a manager for many years, ran huge departments, lots of people under me. And that was the part that I loved. I loved coaching people. I loved mentoring people. I loved managing people. I loved getting the best out of people. So I am now a career strategist, a certified life coach, and that's what I do all the time. Okay. So when I started to get a lot of calls from my clients in this crazy time, where people are like, I don't know what to do. Help me make decisions. Okay. I was finding that a lot of my clients were wallowing in that uncertainty, while not allowing their own wisdom to serve them. Okay. And so if you are familiar with my work, you know that there is a model that I use with most of my clients to help them make good, sound decisions for them in their career, in their home life, with their families. And it's a super crazy simple model, super simple, but extremely powerful. So that's what I want to share with you today, because there are a couple of things that I want to tell you about how the model works so that you can implement it right away. And in fact, this is what I would recommend. This should be a working session. Okay, so if you have, just get a piece of paper and a pen, okay, because we're going to be doing some of this work together. It is one thing to listen to this webinar and to take in all the information and say, I totally get it. You know, Nicole's totally making sense. I absolutely understand everything she said. And then not have any difference manifest in your life, because we need to put these things into practice, okay? And even with our very best intentions, okay, you can listen to all of this information, take it all in, and say, I'm going to do it later, or I'm going to do it when I'm stressed, or I'm going to do it when whatever. Yeah, don't do that. Don't wait. Okay. So grab a piece of paper and a pen. Okay. This is super simple stuff, but you're going to see it's really, really powerful. So I want you guys to work alongside me as I tell you about this. Okay. So I have a story. This is about professional coping skills. And, you know, it reminds me of a time when I did work in a corporate environment, and I was managing managers. And I can't tell you, I mean, I worked with extremely talented, brilliant, ambitious people. They were incredible, incredible. And you know what? We worked in a very high stress environment. And it was a consulting firm, and the decisions and the recommendations that we were making for companies would have huge impact on their products and their bottom line. Okay, so is the company going to fold, or is the company going to make millions of dollars and everybody's going to be thrilled, right? So it was high stress, high impact work. And there were a few times when these incredibly talented people would sit in my office and break down in tears from the stress and the anxiety, and just, it was overwhelming sometimes. It was the nature of the business. And I would give them a tissue box and I would say, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. You are the latest in a long line of smart, talented, ambitious, incredibly intelligent people who've cried in my office, right? And it was really interesting because at the time, the tears start coming out, they're emotional because of the stress and anxiety. But what ends up happening is they switch gears. Once the tears start falling, then they're upset because of why? Because of how unprofessional they are. They say, I can't believe this is so unprofessional of me. I am so sorry. By the way, this was men and women. It wasn't just women. Okay. So that was 10, 15 years ago in a corporate environment when we weren't dealing with a pandemic. Okay. So imagine, I mean, all of the things that we have used in the past to manage our stress levels on the job, and as it relates to decisions that we make about our career and our family, whatever we've done in the past, or however stressful it has been in the past, this is a whole other order of magnitude, right? And so I have been coaching a lot of people through this, and I want to make these tools more widely available to people. So so we're going to be talking about our feelings. We're going to be talking about this is, you don't often talk about your feelings in a professional context, right? You just don't. You're supposed to be like totally unemotional, very professional, right? Look, I put on a blazer for you guys. Look how professional I am today. But we are going to be talking about feelings, okay? There's no way around it, right? And what I want to do is tell you, I'm going to be dropping 3 truth bombs on you today that have to do with this model. And for people who are new to the model, okay, a lot of these things, you're going to be very skeptical, which is totally fine. Okay, totally fine. There isn't an objection that I haven't heard about these truth bombs, these aspects of the model that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So, I welcome questions. There is a Q&A box here. So by all means, there's a chat box. Just be aware that the chat box, you can select whether everyone sees the information you're typing or just the host. Okay, so just be aware of that if you're going to be putting things in chat and in Q&A. So let's begin. Okay, the first thing that I want to tell you is that the circumstances that you find yourself in, the situation that we are all in, is neutral. It's neutral. What does that mean? That means that when you look at the facts, right? The facts don't have any adjectives associated with them. They don't have any adverbs. Facts are facts, and it is what it is. It is what it is. Now, when I say that, I don't mean to downplay the severity of a situation, but what I'm trying to do is separate the facts and what's happening, just the raw circumstance, from what we are thinking about it and what we make it mean. Okay, it is very important to be able to do this. Okay, this is one of the first steps for creating a safe place for yourself and creating some distance between you and chaos and what we just might be experiencing. Okay, so let me give you an example. Okay, I did this exercise with the virus. Okay, because I was having feelings, so I needed to sort all of this stuff out, and so I was using the model myself. I use the model myself every day, and the first step in the model is to identify what the facts of the circumstance is, what the facts of your situation are, and are totally, absolutely neutral. No adverbs, no adjectives, no good or bad or horrible or whatever. Just what is happening that basically everybody could agree on, right? It's not really subject to interpretation. And what I came up with was, 1, there's a virus. 2, some people get it. 3, some people die from it. And 4, leaders are making decisions as a result of it. That's what I came up with. Okay. Those are neutral facts that everybody can agree on, and there aren't yet any layers of emotions and thoughts and judgments and assumptions and interpretations, okay? You're looking at this situation, and all of those facts are neutral. All of them are neutral, okay? So that's number one. The second item that you need to know about this model is that you're going to have a lot of feelings about those facts, right? So this is where people usually start, and probably what prompted you to sign up for this webinar. You have all the feelings and you're like, what do I do with these? Okay. How do I cope with negative emotion? What are, so examples of negative emotion, right? Uncertainty, concern, worry, anxiety, stress. Oh my God, the stress, right? Stress, stress, stress. Here's what I want to tell you about feelings, whether in a professional context or not, but here we're talking about a professional context, right? I want to tell you that every single feeling that you have is derived from a thought about your circumstance. Okay, you can't have a feeling without having a thought first. Your feelings are coming from whatever you're making the situation mean. Okay. So this is the time in my teachings where people sometimes go like this. Really, Nicole? Really? I know. I just feel the feelings. I just feel the feelings, right? I have a thought afterwards, but I don't have a thought before. Okay. Here's the thing. I'm not saying that the thoughts that you have are always conscious thoughts. They may be unconscious thoughts that occur to you and happen in your brain at lightning speed. You may not be aware of them, but the thought is there because you can't feel the emotion without your brain making your situation mean something first. You have to have a thought in order to have the emotion. This is why, by the way, people can be in similar circumstances. Have you ever been in a, this happens a lot. Have you ever been in a call, right? Or in a meeting where you and a coworker or colleague heard the exact same information? You were in the same room, right? Neither of you missed anything. You were both there for the whole thing. And the two of you walked away feeling completely different about the situation, right? You might have walked away feeling totally confident. You might have walked away excited. And there was somebody else who was in that room, heard the exact same thing, had the same experience, yet walked away feeling anxious or stressed. Okay. What was said in that meeting is circumstance, totally neutral fact. You can quote, like you can have a transcript of what was said, right? But the reason those two people walked away with different feelings about what they experienced was that their brains interpreted what happened in totally different ways. Okay. Now, again, sometimes this is super unconscious. Think of it, a good analogy would be, you know, your hand touches a hot pot, right? We know what happens, right? You have a little nerve ending there, and the nerve ending sends, you know, signal to other nerves through your arm, goes to your spinal column. You know, your brain interprets that information, makes a determination, says, you know, we got to do something about that, sends a message all the way back down to your spinal column, all the way, you know, and then your hand removes itself from the hot pot so you don't burn yourself. Okay. That happens pretty instantly, right? It's similar with emotions, guys. I promise you this. There is no exception. Every time you feel something, you have a thought about it first. And the key to all of this, the key to this model and improving your professional coping skills here is you have to surface the thought. You have to identify, what is my brain telling me that is causing me to experience stress, anxiety, anger, frustration, depression? What your brain is doing something, right? So you got to unearth that. Okay. So what I want you to do is, you know, that piece of paper that you've got, I want you to write down feelings that you've had about your career, your job situation, your deadlines, your boss, your work colleagues, your spouse who's working across the dinner table from you, whatever it is. I want you to just jot down some emotions. These have to be one word, by the way. I'm not asking you to write journal entries here. Stress, anxiety, fear. Oh my God, the fear about all the things, right? Concern about your kids and their education. You know, all just jot down what you've been feeling in the last, 3 hours. Like, how many emotions have you hit in the past 3 hours, in the past 12 hours, the past 24 hours as it relates to your job? Okay, just jot those down. All right. Now, here's what I want you to do after you do that. For each of those emotions, I want you to see if you can figure out what thought your brain is telling you that is prompting that emotion. Okay. While you're thinking about that and while you're doing that, I want to tell you a couple of things. One is, don't lie to yourself. Don't lie. This is going to defeat the whole purpose. Okay. Because here's the thing. What you're feeling, and once you start to surface the thoughts that generate those emotions, sometimes those thoughts are not going to be pretty. Sometimes they're not, sometimes they're going to feel uncomfortable or distasteful, or they're just going to feel downright stupid, right? Sometimes it's just, you're going to be embarrassed sometimes that your brain is having that thought that, I didn't get enough toilet paper. Why am I feeling anxious? I'm feeling anxious because maybe I didn't get enough toilet paper, right? You may have all sorts of judgments about yourself for thinking that. You may not want to write that down because you're like, that's so stupid. That's so stupid, Nicole. Why would you think that? Come on, Nicole, this is unreasonable, right? Or you may have a thought that is very judgmental and biased and prejudiced. Maybe you are having a thought that is totally unfounded, right? Oh my God, why am I thinking that? I have no evidence for that. Nothing's happened, right? Why am I thinking that thought? Okay, here's the thing that I want to tell you. This is not going to work. This model will not work for you and will not help you cope better on the job and in any other part of your life if you are not totally, completely honest with yourself. You have to write down all the thoughts that really, really happen in your head, okay? There are a couple of things that I want to note about that. Number one is, this is just for you. This is just for you. I'm not collecting your papers and grading you guys on a curve, okay? I don't care. I don't care what your thoughts are. I'm giving you the tools, okay? This is for you, okay? The second thing is that we have a way of resolving the discomfort or the distaste or the embarrassment that we ourselves might feel about our own thoughts. Okay. This is the third truth bomb. Are you ready? Okay. You can't control every thought that enters your brain, but you can decide whether or not you want to believe it. It's actually a separate step. Okay. A lot of people think that any thought that enters their brain, that they need to keep it. You so don't need to keep the thoughts that enter your brain. Okay. You get to decide. You get to decide. All right. So this is a very important lesson. This is the part of the model that is absolutely the empowering part. Okay. So once you identify very neutral circumstances, right? And you know what you feel, and you can backtrack into the thought that's causing you to feel that thing. Once you surface that thought, you don't have to keep it. You don't have to keep it. But you can't change it unless you know what it is. You can't adjust. You can't course correct. You can't decide what you want it to be unless you first identify that thought and be really honest with yourself. Okay, so this technique allows you to create some distance. Okay, it creates distance in a couple of ways. One we've already talked about, right? When you neutralize the circumstance and you just look at facts that everybody would agree upon, okay? What you're doing is you're separating your situation from what you think about your situation. This is extremely powerful. This is extremely powerful, okay? So that's the first thing that you need to do. And just be very careful here, because what I'm not saying is that, this pandemic's okay, totally fine. I have no problem with it. Or that I am saying that world leaders are handling it absolutely fine. It's great. No, I'm not saying that, okay? What I'm saying is that there's a difference between facts that everybody would agree upon, neutral, okay, and what any particular individual makes it mean. You gotta disentangle those things, right? The second thing that's super powerful about this model is that you have to acknowledge that your brain is just always working. Your brain is working, okay? And what happens is that we feel that we're just at our brain's mercy. Like whatever pops into our brain, well, that must be it, right? And what I'm telling you is that you get to decide, okay? You get to acknowledge what is happening in your brain, create some distance, and say, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't really want to believe that. That thought is really not helping me right now, right? And you can opt out. You can opt out of your thought? Yeah, you could totally opt out of your thought. Absolutely. You don't have to continue thinking a thing, especially if it's creating an emotion that isn't serving you. If it's creating an emotion that is having you snap at your kids or lose sleep. Oh my gosh, losing sleep, right? It's a stressful time. Losing sleep? This is terrible. We all need to be sleeping more in this time, not sleeping less, right? So you don't have to keep all the thoughts that enter your brain, which, by the way, you can't control. You just can't control. So you get to decide, do I want to believe that thought? Is that thought serving me? Is it helping me? Is it creating an emotion that is good for me? You get to decide. So powerful. Now, a couple of disclaimers. One is that sometimes it's good to feel negative emotion. I wouldn't recommend using this model to avoid all negative emotion, right? If somebody that you know has gotten the virus and you're worried about them, you know what? That's kind of appropriate. It's kind of appropriate that you are worried about your loved one. Okay, that's fine. That's good, right? If you watch a movie and you feel sad because it's a sad movie, sounds about right. Sounds about right. Okay. But in any of these circumstances where now you are juggling changes at work, changes in your home life, lots of uncertainty. If any of this stuff is not serving you, it is negatively impacting your performance. It is causing you to lose sleep. It's causing you to show up in a way that you just don't like. You know, if you don't like the way you're showing up with your kids, with your spouse, on your job, whatever it is, then yeah, go ahead and start surfacing what are those unconscious thoughts that are causing me to just have these emotions that are not working for me. And then you get to choose. You get to say, that's the thought. Nah, I don't want that thought anymore. I want to think something else instead, right? I'm going to think something else. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. So you want to take this to like ninja level? This is ninja level. You ready? You can use this model proactively. Okay. The way I've talked about it up until this point is whatever stressors, you know, you came to this webinar because you're like, I need coping skills here. I need to figure out how to do better. Okay, so you're in a situation where you don't like what your experience is, and I'm teaching you this model to surface some underlying thoughts where you can make a decision. You are now empowered to say, that thought doesn't serve me. I got to move somewhere else. This is not working. Okay. But this model works if you want to be proactive. So what about this? What emotion do you want to feel? What emotion do you want to feel? And can you surface the thought that you need to be having, that you need to practice, that your brain needs to embrace in order to feel that emotion instead? That's possible too. That is ninja level. Okay. That's what I spend months coaching people on, but it's absolutely possible. You have the framework now to do that work. Okay. You can say, I want to feel in control. I want to feel in control. Okay. What do you need to think? What thoughts does your brain need to have for you to feel in control? Right? Confident that you can figure it out. You may not have all the answers, but if you want to feel confident that you can figure this out, what do you need to think in order to feel that confidence? This is the type of work that you can do proactively. Okay. So there you go. Those are my 3 truth bombs. Number 1, circumstances are neutral. Neutral. Reduce them down to facts that everybody can agree upon. You'll notice that when I did my own models for this, and I was coming up with a circumstance around around the virus, one of the things that I wrote down was, this is a pandemic. And then it was interesting because, you know, is that really a fact that everybody can agree upon? There are some people that are saying, well, technically, this doesn't qualify. So that's, really distill it down, right? Distill it down. There's a virus. People get it. Some people die. And world leaders are making decisions. That's it. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, whatever you're feeling at any point in time, whatever that emotion is, stems from a thought. Your brain has to have a thought first before you can feel anything. The feeling has to come from what your brain is interpreting the situation to be. And I'm not saying that those thoughts are always front and center and easily identifiable and conscious. It may be totally unconscious. It may happen at lightning speed because all you feel is the visceral emotion. I'm feeling angry, instantly angry. There was no thought. Oh, there was a thought, my friend. There was a thought. There was a thought that made you feel angry in that split second. Now, the important work is to surface. What was the thought? What did you make it mean when that person said something to you? What did you make it mean? That triggered the anger, okay? And then third, don't filter yourself when you start surfacing those thoughts. Don't judge yourself. You got to be totally honest, because you can't do the work in making a decision about whether it serves you or not if you are sugarcoating your thoughts, okay? You need to absolutely be honest, and then you have the power to step back and decide, is that thought really helping me right now? Maybe I can stop that. Maybe I can choose something else, right? It is so crazy powerful to just see how your mind works. This is crazy. And by the way, if it's too hard to do this with work, pick something else, right? Pick something else that isn't so, oh my gosh, wrought with feelings of, extreme reaction or emotion. Pick something that you're like a little bit frustrated about, or a little bit unhappy, right? You don't like the paint, the color of the paint on the walls. You're unhappy about it. Okay, that's an emotion, unhappy. Why are you unhappy? Right? What is the thought? The thought is it's ugly. The thought is it's old. The thought is it's no longer trendy. The thought is, I don't know, whatever it is. You need to surface those thoughts in order for you to do this work. Okay? So I hope that was helpful. I am open to taking any questions. There's Q&A. I don't have any yet. Okay, here's the other thing that I want to tell you guys. The way I typically work with people is they go through a program. So the programs are usually 6 weeks or so, where I walk you through the model. I help you make good, sound decisions about your career, about your work life. And it's after people go through those programs and graduate from those programs that I then offer like one-off sessions. Like if they need a, one-off here and there, happy to do it. But in this time, I am offering one-off sessions because it's crazy town right now. So, and people just may not have the capacity to commit to 6 weekly sessions or whatever it is. So as a follow-up to this webinar, when you get the replay link, there's going to be information there if you want to sign up for just a one-off session where we can take this model, do a deeper dive on it, and talk about you in particular. Like, what are you dealing with right now? How do you apply this model the right way and an effective way? What do you do with it? So, you know, so it's like a lot of people learn the model and then they're like, okay, now what? Like, now what? You know, this is the thought I want to have instead, but it's still really hard for me to embrace that thought. I'm still having this other thought. Now, it's huge progress to be able to surface and identify the original thought that's generating that emotion that you don't like and is not serving you. But you may need some help on how to adjust. And so if you would like to do the one-off sessions, we can do that. If you want information on how to, you know, go through one of my programs, you can email me, do that as well. Okay, so if there are no other questions or Q&A, I'll go ahead and wrap up. It was wonderful to be able to share this information with you. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I will talk to you guys at another webinar. Okay, take care. Bye.